Hey Fundraiser, I'm Mary Petersen, and this is Hey Fundraiser, the podcast for development professionals who are done guessing and ready to build a major gift program that actually works. Every week, I bring you the tactics, the language, and the real-world strategy to close bigger gifts, deepen donor relationships, and lead with confidence. Whether you're a one-person shop or a seasoned major gift officer, if you're ready to stop hoping and start engineering, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey Fundraiser, last week I had my first ever small table intensive. And I have to say, it did not disappoint. I mean, we had fundraisers from all different kinds of organizations. I mean, a youth development organization in Florida, a 90-plus-year-old faith-based nonprofits running homeless shelters in Pennsylvania, a national journalism outlet, a woman in Chicago who's building a brand new organization that has to do with housing for older adults. I mean, multiple missions, multiple different budgets, different donor bases, and every single person who attended this small table intensive walked out with the same thing, a plan to raise six figures from one dinner. Not a gala, not an event with a step and repeat and a silent auction, a dinner, 10 or 12 people, one table, and a handful of really good questions. So today I want to tell you exactly what happened inside this first intensive. I want to share the questions that came up that I bet you're asking yourself too. And I want to tell you how you can be the next person to attend these intensives. So fundraiser, why postpone joy? Let's go. Now, if you've been around here in this podcast for a while, you know that I recently wrote a book called Small Table Big Philanthropy. And the whole premise is this. We have trained our donors to think small. I mean, we don't do it on purpose. It just kind of happens. Really think about it. We ask them for a year-end gift. We ask them to buy like gala tickets. We ask them to give on Giving Tuesday. We ask them for a gift in memory for a loved one. And then before you know it, our most capable donors are in the habit of writing checks for very small amounts. And that is oftentimes the only invitation that we give people. The small table strategy retrains everybody. It retrains your donors to think in statement gifts. And honestly, it retrains us as fundraisers to stop believing that a major gift has to take a year or 18 months to close. The book lays out the entire strategy, but here's what I kept hearing from readers. Every day they would say, oh my gosh, like Mary, love this book, but can you sit down and help me build my actual table? So after hearing this and kind of thinking about it, talking with my team, we decided that we needed like a small table intensive. So it's a few hours, it's like 4 hours, small group, it's a workbook and me. And we don't talk theory, friends. No. We literally build your actual dinner. We think about the host. We look at the guest list. We spend a lot of time thinking about the questions that you're going to pose to the table, how you're going to follow up. What does your match pool look like? I mean, people leave this intensive ready to rock and roll. So I just taught this first one, so I really want to tell you all about it. Okay, so I had these fundraisers with me. And they all had really different situations, because if you're thinking like, oh, this wouldn't work for my organization, one of these fundraisers might be you. I'm just going to give you a couple examples. So Desiree works at a youth development organization in Florida. Kids, after school program, a brand new building they just moved into. Her challenge is that she didn't have an obvious person to open their home for a dinner. Now, we're going to come back to that because her question might be the most useful one of the whole day. Another example is Jen. Jen is at a nonprofit that's been around for over 90 years. They've got 3 homeless shelters, a food pantry, rent, utility assistance, like all the things. Her executive director of 46 years just retired, and the new one has just been on the job for only 3 months. And here's what I told her. A new executive director is almost reason enough all by itself to host a small table. Like, the invitation writes itself. Come meet our new leader and help us shape our next chapter. Swoon. Adrian, dear Adrian, works for a national journalism organization. And they're in the quiet phase of a campaign. They have a ton of donors, and she has the dreamiest host / board member. This person is confident, connected, and already asking to build the small table of 12. And I think where we are with her is, when a donor volunteers to host, you say yes, and you say it quickly. So we'll talk more about Adrian. And then Terry is another example. So Terry didn't even have her website finished yet. She's building an organization from scratch around a shared group living for older adults. And she just asked me flat out, do I need to have everything polished before I do this? My answer is absolutely not. She is actually in the most beautiful spot of anybody that came to this dinner came to this intensive, because her dinner is the founding story. I mean, all she has to do is say, I'm bringing together a small group of trusted friends and advisors to help me think through the vision and the next 3 years. Like, who says no to that invitation? Nobody. So those are just some of the examples I want to give you, because we'll reference those people later. Now, for those of you who have not read the book yet, let me give you like the 30-second quick and dirty version of the strategy, because everything else in this episode really kind of hangs on it. It is a 3-pronged approach to either revamp or build your major gift program. Step number 1 is a dinner. My perfect event for you, dear fundraiser, is you and 5 couples around a dinner table talking about your organization. Ideally, this is in somebody's beautiful home, and the host, with real, street cred, can stand up and say, this organization is the most important thing we can be thinking about this year because of A, B, and C. Every couple or person at the table should really be capable of at least a $25,000 commitment. And you're not even going to ask for a gift that night. You're going to follow up the next day. And the dinners I've done have never brought in less than 6 figures, not once. And I've been doing this for 20 years. So the second prong to this 3-pronged approach is the match. So the money that you raise that night at dinner, of course, it's going to infuse some quick cash into your organization, but you want to put the money you raise up as a very strategic match. Now, this match should just be gifts of $1,000 or more. And I have a whole chapter called, I think dollar for dollar matches are boring, in the book, if you want to read it. But I think dollar for dollar matches are boring. Like, they're played out and I know everybody loves them and it's the whole thing. But when you're only matching gifts of $5,000 or $1,000 or $10,000, what I'm trying to do for you, fundraiser, is build a pipeline. So you don't have to keep going back to the same people who went to the dinner. In a couple years, you'll be able to upgrade them. That is move number 3 of this 3-pronged strategy. So anybody that gives $1,000 for 3 consecutive years should be invited to step up to at least $10K. So donors are quite habitual, right? If you get them at $1,000, they tend to stay at $1,000. The key is to renew them. And we spent a lot of time in this intensive, which was virtual, by the way, really talking about stewardship of these $1,000 donors, because if you can keep them, then they're the perfect people to upgrade. So when they step up, they tend to stay up. And then 3 years from now, your match donors are your major gift prospects and your next dinner host. So that is a 3-pronged approach: dinner, match, pipeline. That is the machine. So I want to get into some of the questions that people at this intensive asked, because they were brilliant. They were thought-provoking. And my gut is that some of you have these same questions, because this book is shockingly popular. We've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of copies, which is delightful. But I do get these same questions like over and over. Okay, the first question was, does this have to happen in someone's home? So this was Desiree, right? She's in Florida. She had a longtime supporter who would love to host, but the woman, has been around for 40 years, and bless her, but she she was a potential host, but we ended up saying, maybe she's not the right host because she wouldn't want to really strategically think about how to engage this group of people, this very important small group of people. And so my answer surprised some people. And my answer was, I think we should bless and release the idea of this person being our host. The host is so, so, so important to this dinner. And if you have somebody that's not going to work with you and not help you build the vision, work the table, and be your partner for this evening, then it's just not, it's not the right person. So it wasn't about blessing and releasing the donor, of course. It was about blessing and releasing the idea of this lovely donor hosting this dinner. So technically, the dinner does not have to be in a home. My very first small table, one that started all of this, was back in 2004, happened to be in a hospital boardroom. So Desiree has a restaurant partner that has a private room, and it's the perfect venue. What matters is not the address. What matters is really the intimacy and the safety, like a private space where people can share, really personal things about why this mission matters to them is the most important thing. What you can't do is put 12 people at a long table in the middle of a busy restaurant. Like that's not going to work. So privacy is non-negotiable. You still need a host though, even if you're having this event in a private room at a restaurant. The host is the street cred. The host is the one who stands up, metaphorically and actually, and says, this organization is so important to me. I'm so grateful that you all have come to talk about the next chapter of this organization. And the host is also kind of your bouncer, like in a nice cardigan. Like if one guest is dominating the conversation, it's really the host who graciously says, let's open the floor up so you or your executive director never have to shut down a donor. So pick someone with strength and diplomacy to do those things. Okay, so the second question really had nothing to do with the dinner, but fundraising is fundraising. So we're just going to talk about everything. So the second question I got was, what do I do with loyal donors who just will not return my calls? And when Adrienne asked this, I literally could feel, even though it was virtual, I could feel and see people lean in. Everybody wanted to know the answer to this. Many of us have donors who are giving $1,000 a year or thousands of dollars a year, like clockwork, and they just will not engage. Like half respond, half go quiet. So I talked to Adrienne about my 3 voicemail strategy, and I'll give it to you too, because this thing has really helped me get in the door with people who haven't engaged in the past. So it's a lot of voicemails, but I think you'll see the strategy as I go through this. So, voicemail 1 is really just this, like, hi, this is Mary. I'm calling from X organization and my phone number is blah, blah, blah. I say my phone number up front first thing. Why? Because most people read the transcript of a voicemail and I want my number at the top so there's zero friction to call me back. Okay, then I say, I wanted to call and say, thanks. You've been such a loyal donor. We're sitting down with a few chosen people to get their advice on X. Your name just kind of keeps coming up for me, and I would love to sit down with you and hear your thoughts. And then I usually say my number at the end again. Voicemail 2, which is like 3 or 4 days later, is, hi, my name is Mary. I'm calling from Y organization and my phone number is X. These meetings that we're having with people are going so well, and I would love to get your voice included. I'm also going to send you an email just in case that's your preferred method of communication. So what I've done here is I've introduced a little bit of FOMO, right? Like, oh, they're meeting with other people and am I missing something? So we're just a little FOMO. And I also introduced a second channel, right? Like, oh, I'm going to email. And then of course I do the thing, send the email. Now, voicemail 3 is the one that gets the callbacks. But I only pull it out for voicemail 3 fundraiser cuz it's it's a little cryptic. Well, it's not, I mean, okay, I'll just tell you. So I usually say something like, "Hi, John. This is Mary from Z organization, and my phone number is A. I certainly do not want to fill up your voicemail box. And I know that we've had some trouble getting a hold of one another, but we're continuing these meetings, and we'd really love to have your voice included. If I don't hear from you by Friday, I'll just go ahead and take you off my list. But please know this is my cell number, and you can text if that's easiest. Thanks so much for your support. Have a great day." So there's something deeply psychological about, I'm doing air quotes, being taken off the list. That voicemail has generated a shocking amount of return calls for me. I can't even count them. I mean, even if they don't respond, that's okay too. You bless and release. Without guilt, you gave it the old college try, and there are other donors who actually want to talk to you. So that was question number 2. And now you have my lovely three voicemail strategy that's worked very well for me for many years. Okay, the third question is, can I invite prospects who have never given to the organization before to this dinner? So Jen asked this, and if the host wants to invite couples from their own network who have never given a dime, Jen wanted to know, like, is that okay? Like, is that going to work? Here's my answer. 1,000,000% yes. That is actually one of the most powerful things about this strategy. So typically the host invites 2 or 3 couples, and then the organization invites 2 or 3 couples. And this dinner, it shortens the cultivation timeline for brand new donors dramatically. I've watched people who have never heard of an organization sit down, have this amazing experience, make a significant gift, like $25,000 or $50,000 within a week of having this experience with the organization. And I think the reason is because it's not a pitch dinner. It's an experience. I mean, they get brought very close to the organization very quickly, and it's quite magical actually. And this is when Adrienne added something here that I want to repeat because it's so true. She had recently held a lunch for supporters that she'd never met in person and got 100% turnout. People who won't take a one-on-one meeting with a fundraiser typically will come to a small, special gathering. So you've heard donors say to you, as I have, oh, don't spend your time on me. I'll keep giving. Just, spend your time on other people. Those exact people are the ones that will actually show up to a small table with bells on. So if someone keeps dodging your coffee meetings, maybe stop asking them for coffee meetings and invite them to a small table event. Okay, question 4 was, and this was Jen, I think, again, and she said, should someone from our program be at the dinner? So Jen has a graduate of their long-term work therapy program. I mean, it was an incredible story. Gentleman arrived in handcuffed, and today he's employee of the year at his company and hiring other graduates of the program that Jen works at. So should he be there? Yes. I mean, one program voice, not 4 or 5, but somebody who can talk about your work, who's lived it, is going to move that room. But here's where the group got smart together. And this is why I love teaching in small groups. Desiree pointed out that if he shares his whole story first thing, that some guests may hold back on their own sharing because their struggles are going to feel so small and insignificant next to his. So, as we kind of worked through it, here's where we landed. One of the things that you want to do when you kick off this dinner is to have everyone introduce themselves. I mean, even if they know each other or don't know each other, and you want to have one very specific, pretty deep question. So when you go around the table with your opening question, you would want to have your program person answer it as well, just like everybody else answers it. But he should go last. So everyone shares first, then his answer lands with full weight and it reframes a lot of things. And so we also talked about how to plan a graceful exit for that program participant partway through the dinner so the group can speak freely about money and perceptions and things that might not be appropriate for program people to hear. And that would be more on the back half of the evening. And that's the level of choreography that this small table strategy deserves. I mean, I spend an hour or two literally just thinking about the questions and the flow for a single dinner. So getting people is easy, but building that conversation and making it safe for everyone at that table is an art. Hey, fundraiser. Before you sign up for another fundraising conference where you might leave with a good tote bag but zero strategy to raise more money, let me invite you to Major Gift Momentum. This is my private coaching group where you'll get weekly coaching calls with me, access to my full Major Gift curriculum, and a community that's actually moving the needle. Major Gift Momentum isn't based in theory, it's based in action. Members are closing 5- and 6-figure gifts within 3 months of joining. Heather just closed a $245,000 gift. Jacelyn just closed a $212,000 campaign gift. And Georgette just got a $500,000 commitment. All within 3 months of joining Momentum. Each of these Momentum members didn't think the donor would give that much, but once I taught them my method, they are raising money at a whole new level. So would you like in, fundraiser? If you do, go to heyfundraiser.com/momentum and let's get started. The next question I got, which of course was brilliant, was, what do I say when someone asks if this is a fundraiser? And friends, you are going to get that question. I mean, savvy people can smell it. Here's the answer. I mean, more or less word for word. I usually say something like, first and foremost, we need your input. This is a deep conversation about one particular problem. We need your help solving and we need your advice. And we have questions that we're going to ask you that night that are going to help us figure out a solution. If the evening inspires you in some way and you'd like to help, we will follow up with you after the dinner. But this dinner is not a fundraiser. And that's it. It's honest, it's truthful, it's not a bait and switch because you genuinely do want their thinking. And the ideas that surface at these tables, I think, are really going to surprise you. But nobody is going to be ambushed with a paddle raise in between salad and entree, believe me. Okay, the next one's a big one. I get asked this outside of the intensive. I got asked this inside the small table intensive was, do we ask for a gift at the dinner? Answer is no. And this took me a long time. It took me years and a lot of money left on the table to learn. So please just take my scar tissue like as a gift. So when I did, like when I was a little baby fundraiser, when I did host these small tables and I did ask for gifts in the room, people would give from their checking account, right? They would do like quick, I could see it. They would do quick mental math on what was liquid and write me a check, which was lovely. However, when I let them sleep on it, called them the next day, They didn't give from liquidity, they gave from their assets. Like they would go home, and my gut is on the ride home, or when they're getting ready to go to sleep, they're talking about how moving and amazing this night was. And they start to remember, like, oh, yeah, I've got this appreciated stock that our broker is just bugging me about. Or, we have that required minimum distribution from our IRA. Like, maybe we should just give it to the organization. Or, we've been thinking about starting a donor advised fund. Like, let's do it and make this our first gift. Like, the couples they talk the whole car ride home. And the number that comes out the next morning is a different number than what you get that evening. I know it sounds counterintuitive. And I know as a fundraiser, like fundraiser to fundraiser, everything in your body is going to be like, make an ask, make an ask. But I've watched it happen over and over again. So here's how you actually close the evening. The host or your ED, if the host isn't comfortable, but ideally it would be the host, kind of closes the room. We've had a lot of deep conversation tonight. These are the conversations that feed our souls as people who do this heavy work. Mary is going to give you a call tomorrow to like hear your reflections, and I would consider it a personal favor if you took her call. So that's what I like my hosts to say, and that really goes a long way. That last line actually came from a hospital CEO named Jim. Oh, Jim. I'm just smiling thinking back to Jim. He was the hospital CEO that I did my first, it was actually a luncheon, but it was a small table luncheon in 2004. Every single couple the next day took my call. There were 6 couples and Jim and me around that boardroom. And those 6 couples gifted $1.2 million. And I'm convinced that it's because he said, I would consider it a personal favor if you took Mary's call tomorrow. So the next day, you want to make sure that you do the calls. I mean, even if it's on a Sunday, and the person who does the call needs to be someone who was at the dinner, right? Not the fundraising coordinator who wasn't in the room, not the volunteer who wasn't in the room, like you. And that's when you say, we are so grateful that you came last night. What really, stuck with me was when you talked about whatever, and you reflect back something that they said so that they know you were listening. And then that's when you say, this group is important. And after last night's conversation, we have some solutions that we want to move forward with. And we'd love to see you come in at the leadership level of $250,000, whatever it is. But I want you to ask at the stretch level, not the comfortable level. Comfortable is nice, stretch is better. So I also want to tell you, so we've gotten amazing questions, right? But I want to tell you what surprised me about this small table intensive. So I'm watching these fundraisers who are, sitting in my Zoom room, and some of them I had never met before. But what was so awesome was that we were all solving each other's problems. Like Desiree helped Jen figure out the choreography for her program graduate. Adrian offered a script idea for staff thank you calls that I'm probably going to steal myself. So thank you, Adrian. Terry, who of course is at the beginning of her journey, asked questions that everyone else wouldn't say out loud. And every one of her questions made that room smarter. So the whole methodology is about what happens when you put a small number of the right people around a table and ask real questions. So the intensive, I realized like halfway through, is my own version of like a small table. Like I was teaching the strategy, but also living it. Now, by the end, people left. I mean, their workbooks, I can only imagine what their workbooks looked like because everybody had printed it out. It's like a 30-page workbook, but everybody printed it out and I could see them writing. People left with a plan. Desiree has her venue and her guest strategy. Jen has her new ED dinner concept and her program graduates role completely mapped out. Adrienne has a board member host, and we talked through some campaign angles for her. Terry has her founding vision dinner planned, and because she asked so nicely, she has me telling her exactly what to say on every phone call. Her words, not mine, but she's so sweet because she's like, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. So Terry, thank you. And so it was just such a lovely experience. And here's the thing, fundraiser, if you listened to this episode and thought, oh my gosh, I want that, here's what I want you to know. I do small table intensives like 3 times a year. And I keep them very tiny on purpose, right? I don't want to do a webinar with 400 people on mute. I want to do working sessions with colleagues and fundraisers who want to implement this strategy and revamp or launch a major gift strategy. So you show up with an idea of what you want to do and your mission, and you leave with your dinner ready to rock and roll. So we talked through the 60-30-7 invitation timeline mapped. That's in the book. Follow-up calls scripted, match strategy ready so that the money that you raise works twice. The dinners that come out of this strategy have never brought in less than 6 figures in my experience. And one executive director that I coached, she raised $1.4 million. And that does not even include her match. She hasn't even started working on the match yet. And this is a small organization in Lexington, Kentucky. One dinner. And so if you want in on the next Small Table Intensive, you can go to heyfundraiser.com, and there should be a thing at the top that you can look at the future dates. Now, I only really try to take between 10 and 20 per Small Table Intensive, right? Because I want it to be like the dinner party. I want us to be able to converse and ask questions and have dialogue. So if you can't find it on the website, or if you have other questions about the Small Table Intensive, you can always email me, fundraiser. It's mary@heyfundraiser.com, and I can send you all the information. And of course, if you want the full methodology in your hands, you can always grab the book. The book is called Small Table Big Philanthropy. Read it, dog ear it, and then come to an intensive and we can build your strategy together. Thanks, fundraiser. See you next week. Fundraiser, thank you for being here. This work you do, it matters. You are the bridge between generosity and impact, and don't let anyone, including the hard weeks, convince you otherwise. If today's episode gave you something useful, please pass it along. One share, one text to a colleague, one review on Apple Podcasts. That's how this show reaches the people who need it most. Come find me at heyfundraiser.com, and I'll see you next Friday.